Larry Kudlow. He's now a big shot, of course, in the Trump administration.
Yeah.
He used to actually substitute for us when we were when we were off.
And we had a lot of people substitute for us. Anthony Weiner, for example, did it. We had other people as well. I know it's funny, but he did. But we always thought Larry was the best.
No doubt about it.
And he had his own show here, and he was a major star on television. Now he is the director of the National Economic Council for President Trump. And here he is back on his station, WABC. Our dear friend Larry Kudlow. Larry, let's start with this. It's the most important question. You scared the hell out of all of us a couple of months ago. I'm sure yourself, too. How you feeling?
I feel great. Thank you. It's been a while. I appreciate your asking. The ticker is ticking.
You know,
I have a lot of energy. I just wanted to know, when I filled in for you guys, go back and check out my ratings. They were awesome.
Yeah.
He's right.
Listen, no doubt about it. People love Larry Kudlow. You were a beloved figure in the city of New York, no doubt about it, Larry. And I got to tell you this. You at the CPAC conference, you killed it. You were great. I mean, the line about let's put socialism on trial in 2020 and convict it, I mean, it was a killer. And, of course, but the question is this. Capitalism right now is thriving, particularly right now, but it always has. And historically, socialism leads to, poverty, tyranny, death, all that stuff. And yet, the opposition is embracing it. So that is that's going to be the battle for 2020.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good point. What you said at the outset, things are working well. Like, we're in the best economy in a couple of decades. And it's ironic that the Democrats are campaigning for this, state-controlled, collectivist, socialist approach where they'd run every industry at exactly the time when President Trump's policies are kicking in and things are getting better and jobs are rising and business investment is doing well and wages are rising. In other words, I think those guys have really missed the whole point. They've missed their turn. And they're fighting a battle that doesn't exist. And I'll say this, the younger people, the millennials, and those are the ones I really was trying to talk to at CPAC. I want to reason with them. I want to talk to them seriously, not condescending. They're good kids, and they're entering the workforce, and they're setting out for themselves in life. And I want to make sure that they remember how catastrophic the old Soviet Union was, how catastrophic Venezuela is, and think about, why do you want the government to take your basic freedoms and liberties away and run the entire economy, which would demoralize everybody and would remove incentives to work, save, and invest, and crazy things like ending listen to this number. They want to take over Medicare. They want the government to run all health care, right? So inside that, 180 million Americans, 180 million Americans would lose their existing private health insurance.
Yeah.
180 million.
Jeez.
That's an extraordinary number. And it may cost $35 trillion. It may decimate the economy. But that's an example of a socialist government literally confiscating and usurping what is yours, your choice, right? And ultimately doing it very badly. That 180 million number, I just want to put that out there because I don't think it's gotten enough attention.
This is exactly what the ABC audience is missing, Larry, with these types of numbers. And I'll say this, and we'll get to the trade deal with China coming up, which will benefit us, I think, dramatically. What's happened in the market over the years that Trump has been president, even taxes. But, I know that Cohen was his first choice, Larry. We always thought from day one you should have been the first choice. And now you've been there for a while. It's a very simple question. What's it like working for President Trump?
Oh, it's terrific. Honestly, it's the most fun I've ever had.
Is that right? Really?
Yes, it's terrific. First of all, he's been great, very accessible. I mean, I'm with him almost every day, sometimes more than once. I run the National Economic Council, which has a lot of terrific analysts and policy people. And the work is interesting. You go from economic policy, taxes, healthcare, energy, environment, national security, working on Venezuela, for example, China trade, European trade, 5G. There's no end to it, and we run, part of my job is to run various policy councils to develop ideas for the president, and then you got to go into the Oval and see what he wants and try to sell it to him. I do a lot of media work, as you know. They've used me a lot as their spokesperson.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love the work. I have to tell you that. And the president has been wonderful to me. I didn't expect this, fellas, as you know. We talked about it. Actually, it's been about a year since I came down here.
Yep.
I loved my ABC radio show. I loved it. I loved my CNBC work, and so forth and so on. So who would have thunk it? Anyway, it's a gift. It's an honor. And I'm a very happy camper.
Yes, and you're making a difference, Larry Kudlow. That's A. And B, I know you had a great time at the Gridiron Dinner just this past weekend.
Yeah.
So we're very happy for you.
Thank you.
And now to Sid's question. With China, their economy is tanking. This alleged trade war we're engaged in, of course, the tariffs haven't kicked in yet, but their economy is tanking. Ours is thriving. I would say we're winning that war.
Yeah, I think that's right. You know, a couple quick points. One is, it was controversial when President Trump used tariffs to hammer the Chinese for their unfair trading practices. You know, they steal our intellectual property. They force us to give up technology. They won't let us own our own companies. They have high tariffs on agriculture and industrial supplies. They cyber hack us. A lot of crazy stuff. So he's using tariffs, but if you think about it, the tariffs really brought China to the table. And now, although the work is not yet complete, we've made so much progress, particularly in the last 2 months, particularly 2 weeks ago in the meetings here in Washington, that we're closing in on a deal. Now, we don't have the deal. I don't want to mislead anybody, but we've come further, deeper than anything we've ever had with China, including, I might add, enforcement, which is really the heart of the matter. China does not have a good record in fulfilling its, making good on its promises. Bob Lighthizer, our trade negotiator, he's the best in the business. So I think one of the lessons here is that tariffs are part of the trade weaponry. And I don't believe President Trump is a protectionist. He wants free and fair and reciprocal trading. He would rather see zero tariffs. And this is something he and I have worked on together quite a lot. But there are times when you have to fight back for your country. And so to make a deal that's good for America and our workforce and our, manufacturing, blue collars, farmers, ranchers, technology, you got to be tough. No other president had been this tough, whether Democrat or Republican. So the long and the short is we are closing in on what could be a very promising deal for the United States. A very promising.
Yeah,
that's right.
USA,
even after
USA.
Mexico. Even at the deal we do in Mexico a couple months ago. Larry Kudlow, the director of the National Economic Council, and, of course, great host here. I want to bring this more local, Larry. I know the Governor Cuomo. We're not huge fans of Cuomo, Bernie and I. But he's been to D.C. a couple of times to meet face-to-face with Trump. Wants to get money. Obviously, the tunnel situation for the rails is a huge issue here in New York City. Again, if Cuomo wants that, does Donald Trump go to you and ask your opinion as to whether or not he should allocate money towards something like that, or is that not something you would get involved in?
No, I was in that meeting.
You were?
Yeah, I was there. Actually, I had a good visit with Andrew, whom I've known for a long time. Actually, political differences aside, I had a great relationship with Mario Cuomo and Matilda, but Mario Cuomo particularly, who was wonderful to me many years ago when I was active in New York politics, and I've known Andrew. And we had very good conversation in the Oval. We covered a lot of important issues. I'll probably be coming up there in the next few weeks to meet with him and his budget director and talk about his concerns about some of the tax reforms and perhaps some of the other items that you just mentioned. But we had a very good civil meeting, and I guess it was about that time that the story broke about Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
Right.
And President himself was interested in that because the state of New York has obviously pledged a lot of tax credits and various other subsidies to get the Amazon campus. But I think we all agreed once the state makes that decision, it's up to the state, it would have paid off. It would have really paid dividends in terms of, knock-on effects, second and third order effects, and good jobs, very high-paid jobs, and lots of new jobs for Long Island City and the nearby. Economists call them knock-on effects. So I'm glad to see the governor's fighting back now. I think they're trying to make another pass at the Amazon story. But we talked about that, and we reached some agreement. Whether we can help on the tax reform, I don't know. We'll be kicking that around. We'll see. But it was a very civil meeting, and I will tell you, I enjoyed it. Frankly, I hadn't seen the governor in quite some time.
Oh, that's good.
His brother wants me to come on his TV show.
I'm sure.
Don't trust him. Don't trust him, Larry.
Well,
he's going to be a setup.
Chris has been texting me for months and months to come on the TV show.
Yeah.
Chris is a very smart guy.
He is.
I think we do have some political differences. But I asked Governor Cuomo if I should come on, and I asked the governor if Chris would give me a fair shot, let me answer the questions. And he said he would. Governor said that Chris would. So I texted Chris back, and Chris texted me back saying that his brother never even watches his CNN show.
Hey, listen, if you go on, you might pull another Red Fox,
Right, we don't want that.
Elizabeth! Don't do it.
No,
but listen, Larry, we're out of time. In all seriousness, we love you. We're glad you're killing it down there in D.C.
Thanks, Paul.
And thank you for appearing on the Bernie and Sid show at this point.
And for keeping our ratings up, too, Larry. We appreciate that.
All right. Take care, Paul.
All right. Be
Take
well.
care.
The great Larry Kudlow, director of the National Economic Council, who has taken his act. LeBron James went to South Beach. Larry Kudlow, he went to D.C. We're coming right back.
Bernie and Sid in the morning.